Hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. That would be Sandy Kreisberg, HBS guru, founder.
Hi, everybody.
In Boston. If you like jazz, you're going to like what we're going to talk about today. We have a candidate here, Christian, who has a 3.3 in jazz studies. He's taken a practice GRE. He's gotten a 326 on the practice. He's aiming for 330. He wants to go to a very, very elite business school. We might want to talk him out of that, but let's just see. His target schools are Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, and Booth. He is a passionate jazz lover. He plays piano, and he is involved right now as an intern at SF Jazz in San Francisco. Graduated from the Midwest College. Not graduated yet, right? You're about to.
Yep, I'm a senior right now, and I'm hoping to apply deferred to those schools. Yep.
And what he has in his pocket, and this is really going to be, I think, essential in applying to an elite school, he has a full-time offer from McKinsey after having done an internship while an undergraduate student at McKinsey. So Sandy, what do you think?
Let me get this straight. Christian, hello, everybody. You're a college senior now. You're a 2+2 applicant. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
Okay, 2+2 is a tough and lottery-like bucket, particularly at HBS. What you've got here is you've got a 3.3, which is below the average GPA for 2+2 admittance. So the question is, what else do you offer? Besides, what's your dowry? Despite
well, that's a great question.
What's your dowry despite a 3+3 bridal profile, which is not too spicy?
Right. Well, I humbly offer to these schools, in addition to the McKinsey offer, I think a very complete kind of path for myself and goals that I've set for myself in my career. I'm really passionate about arts advocacy and leadership, and the roles that I want to end up in, director in an arts nonprofit or organization, really fall directly in line with the stuff I'm doing now, whether it's my roles in student government. I served as the senator, like the head student representative for the fine arts student body to the university system campus or system senate. I also am on the board of 2 arts organizations now, a local art museum, as well as a jazz 501c3 nonprofit. I'm interning at one of the world's most successful and biggest jazz 501c3 nonprofits in SF Jazz. And all of those things, including and then adding on to that, the experience that I'm hoping to gain at McKinsey after a couple of years, I think are going to set me up for a very successful career in the arts. And I think that adding on then an MBA from a top school after McKinsey, and then to return and continue to develop before leaving to one of these organizations, I think it's a very clear path for me, and it's exactly what I want to do. So I'm hoping that my dowry of a very complete holistic career goal is enough to kind of offset the fact that as a music major, my advisor told me day one, hey, don't worry about your grades. I went to a top jazz master's program and I had a 3.0. They won't listen.
One important lesson in your life: don't listen to your advisor. Folks, this is real important, John. Welcome to whatever year this is. Let me give you some advice. Grades always count. Don't let anybody tell you different. I don't care if that person is an admissions officer or an advisor or an archangel, okay? Grades count. That is as real as gravity, all right?
Very true.
Maybe they're less important on the moon, like gravity, but here on planet Earth, end of sermonette.
Now, we should also point out that Christian is an immigrant from South America, so he kind of qualifies for being Hispanic, yes? And that should give him some advantages in the admissions game.
Are you a U.S. citizen, Christian?
I am now. I'm currently a dual citizen of both Venezuela and the United States.
Okay, so that you are legally a Hispanic applicant. So you've got that going for you. So you've got the 3-3 and then the Hispanic story, and then some great work experience at McKinsey. Got a lot of good stuff here. What school do you want to go to?
Well, so one thing that really has captured me, well, so Harvard, and of course that's, I'm sure, what everybody says, but one of the main reasons is I've learned about HBS has the Leadership Fellows program, so which is for social enterprise. They'll place a small group of students that graduate in social enterprise for a year, and usually that's in like chief of staff type of roles or things like that. And one of the most like recurring people that end up, or groups that end up on that list, is the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. So I've seen repeatedly, including, so the head of strategy, for example, of Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, did his undergrad in piano, got a master's in musical theater, and then ended up at HBS, and then ended up at Lincoln Center as a chief of staff.
Yeah, okay, we're going to file that under what HBS can do for me.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's really good. I mean, that suggests you really know the program, what you want. You even have a role model of sorts and a person to follow.
Yeah, but John, what's the next question after what HBS can do for me?
Here's what I can do for you.
Yeah. So what's the answer?
Add a very different voice in that classroom.
Sure.
There are precious few people like Christian in Harvard Business School.
What's the answer besides a 3-3?
Sure. So I'm at a school like HBS, I would provide some really unique perspectives. First off, being Hispanic, which is one of the most underrepresented groups in the entire HBS class. Last class profile, it was 7% of students identified as Hispanic American. Only 4% of undergrad majors in the HBS class profile were arts and humanities.
You said you also wanted a mock interview, okay?
Sure. Yeah.
So let's say you do get an HBS interview, and the interviewer says, what could you contribute to the case method as in Hispanic? What experiences do you have that could be relevant to a case method discussion, if you understand the question?
So in cases that really relate
to— That's a nice way of saying, how Hispanic are you, buddy?
Sure. Well, one of the big things that I've kind of been passionate about is connecting with cultural groups, especially being so I'm from Minnesota, and in Minnesota, we don't have a lot of Hispanics. So it's been really important for Hispanics who live in Minnesota to be a part of these close-knit cultural groups extracurricularly, whether it's student organizations that are for people of Hispanic and Latino heritage, or groups outside of schools.
Do you have any, is that on your resume?
I suppose I haven't tacked it onto there.
Well, you just got your money's worth out of this mock interview, friend. What do you have to do after we hang up here?
Make sure I add a couple lines on there about how being Hispanic has really influenced.
You've got to retread yourself as Hispanic, baby. If you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to highlight every Hispanic experience. You've got to identify on your resume. They care more about Hispanics than they care about jazz.
Makes sense.
Don't you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually there's a connection between his love of jazz and his culture. So there's a very neat way to include both in your presentation.
Yeah, so jazz for me has been an outlet to connect with a culture that I haven't been, not living in Venezuela. I've been able to connect with my Venezuelan heritage through composing and performing the music of Venezuela, whether it's traditional songs and things like that. I've been very involved in that.
Yeah, they love that stuff, man. You gotta spotlight it.
Okay.
Everything else I'm going to say is trivial by comparison here. John, what are you going to do with the 3-3 here? Does it make sense for this guy to take like calculus over the summer or something?
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
What'd you get in like? Have you taken like
quant courses?
Yeah, like
so.
Yeah, calculus or economics.
Sure. So I took economics. I have a B+ in economics. But I tested out of calculus. I have a high AP score. So I tested out of calculus, and I have an A in statistics as well.
Huh. Wow.
Okay, that's helpful.
You want to put
You've
that
got,
in your presentation?
yeah,
Okay.
those are, you've got to write an essay saying, you know, in addition to your normal essay where you're going to talk about what an impact you're going to have on blah, blah, and blah, you've got to write another, and how Hispanic you are. Okay.
Right.
So you got to Hispanicize your resume. You got to write an essay talking about your Hispanic experiences, and you have to write one of these special essays that says my 3.3 is not predictive of what I'm going to do at Harvard Business School.
For sure.
For
Well,
reasons,
and another thing I think that
or
points
whatever
out,
business school. Yeah.
right. And another thing I think that points that out is the fact that I interned at McKinsey and was successful. And, you know, I got the return offer and I did very heavy quant stuff. I was modeling and building dashboards and
Yeah.
things
Who's
like
going to
that.
write your recs at McKinsey?
So one of my, my EM from that study, and I had a very small group. My manager on that study that I was working on that summer is one of my recommenders, and he can speak directly to the quant stuff that I was doing and the success that I had.
Wow. Good. And you've also got great extracurriculars in terms of, you know, you're both a musician, and we kind of think of them as, you know, guys who just are, you know, playing music, but you've got a lot of evidence of public university service, which is usually for the square kids, you know.
It's true, a little bit.
Yeah. So you wear two hats there. You got the musician's hat and the square kid's hat. I would try and work that in. You haven't represented yourself powerfully in the materials you've sent us. There's a lot of room for improvement.
Okay.
And then let's just say, okay, so that's my advice to you. Okay, so let's just segue into like a mock interview here.
Please.
You know? Name an arts leader with an MBA that you admire, since that's your goal in life.
Well, so the individual that I mentioned earlier, who's head of strategy now at Lincoln Center, his name is Clive Chang. And the work that he's done, so he's also an Asian American individual and a LGBT individual, and the work that he's done for the cross-cultural communities that he's a part of, in addition to his arts leadership, has been really inspirational to me, and kind of one of the reasons that I'm so attracted to a program like HBS, the fact that they're accepting of these perspectives of somebody, again, who comes from a music background, and not only that, but enable them to really excel.
Okay. You're talking to us rather than giving an interview answer, but I get the point. Let's turn it into interviewees. Okay.
Okay.
What was your best accomplishment? What accomplishment are you most proud of at McKinsey?
I'm really proud of coming into a study that I had literally no background in. So it was like a manufacturing type study. You know, look at my background, I know nothing about manufacturing. And I sat down day one and they said, we need you to build models. And I hadn't ever built models before.
Okay, John, rate that answer.
Well, I think he's going in the right place because he needs to reinforce the fact that he can do quant work. And he's reinforcing it with the fact that he got the McKinsey opportunity.
Yeah, okay, let me repeat this. This is Sandy's advice for interviews, okay? Answer the question immediately, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was able to go into McKinsey and do.
No, that's not answering the question immediately. If the question is what engagement were you most proud of? You go, the 6 months I spent on the ABC case. That's answering the question immediately. And then you fill it in, and then they'll interrupt, okay?
Okay.
But you always answer the question immediately.
So come out and say, my ability to very quickly start building models, complex models that drove, you know, capturing opportunity.
Answer the question, don't sell. I said this.
Yeah.
I believe
that's what he said.
I get it.
Like 3 months.
I believe I say this every week.
Yeah.
Answer the question, don't sell. Okay, you can sell by way of answering their follow-up questions.
Sure. Well, so one of the things
here's another very popular. Absolutely one of the most popular and boring HBS questions. Tell me about your decision to attend the University of Minnesota at Duluth.
I really wanted to be able to learn with people who understood my needs and wanted me to excel in my field. My field for me was Latin jazz
John,
and Latin jazz piano. So I
John,
chose.
John,
I don't know. I mean, what would be the right answer?
there's a formula for this. I went to high school in blah, blah. It was an academically oriented high school. You know, the choices I had my senior year in high school were to attend Minnesota at Duluth, or possibly go out of state or attend a private school. My decision-making process was as follows. That is what they want as an answer.
Yeah. So
Okay, get the difference?
I wanted to stay close to my family. I wanted to be with people more like me.
I don't know about that.
No?
You try it, Christian.
So, okay, well, real quick, the real answer is the professor that I study with, the individual in his field in jazz piano, who is my direct professor. Because when I went to college, I said, I want to get a master's in music. I want to be a performer. And I still want to perform, but that's the reason. I'm not sure if I can say
the
that.
question is, tell me about your decision to attend. This is not some obscure question. This is probably one of the 5 most commonly asked HBS and other school interview questions. Tell me about your decision to attend University of Minnesota. And the way to start is, when I was a senior in high school, this is the world I looked at, and this is how I made the decision.
Sure. So coming out of high school, I was both interested in pursuing academic pursuits and musical ones. I took a look at a couple of different colleges, including the University of Minnesota, the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I kind of weighed all the different aspects of what type of performance opportunities I would get, as well as the academic rigor of the schools. And I found that the University of Minnesota Duluth really fit my needs and really was a place that I could grow and excel as an individual and as a performer.
That's better, but that's acceptable.
I like the answer. I like the answer that I found a professor who I really wanted to study under and who I greatly admired. And
I visited. I was just make it hyper specific.
Okay.
You know, I wanted to go to school in Minnesota. My high school guidance counselor and a lot of my suggested University of Minnesota for a lot of obvious reasons. It's a great school. It wouldn't cost as much as a private school. I had friends who went there. I visited my friends. I was lucky enough in the course of a visit to either make contact with or find out about Professor X. So it had a lot. So my decision was based on, it was in my home state. It was partially financial. They had a program I was very interested in. I had friends there, and I had made contact with this professor.
Sure.
How about that as an answer?
I'll work on that one.
Can I just say one thing? Now, Christian comes across as an extrovert who's incredibly articulate and very vocal. And in these interviews, what they want are short, snappy, direct answers.
Okay.
That don't allow you to kind of just, go on.
Okay, well, good to know.
I don't view extroversion as his problem or introversion as his problem. I view so far it's substantive. There's a way to answer a question. Tell me about your decision to go to University of Minnesota. And he just wasn't in line with the kinds of reasoning they like.
Yeah, just be direct. Don't wind up.
That is right. Answer the question immediately and then backpedal.
Perfect. Makes
They'll
sense.
interrupt, believe me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue with the mock interview. Very frequent HBS question. When you arrived at the University of Minnesota, what was unexpected?
One of the things that I found most unexpected was just how similar the class profile was. I was, kind of led to believe a little bit that things were very, when I left my high school, I would get to a college where I would find people of diverse perspectives, I would find people of really diverse backgrounds. And the truth is, you have to go digging for that. You have to be a leader in your own sense and find people who want to have those diverse perspectives. I was interested in Latin jazz, and in Minnesota, that's not the first thing that comes to the page. There's not a million people in line for Latin jazz. So if you want to be somebody who discovers diverse perspectives,
what had you? I understand your answer. That was what was unexpected. What had you been expecting exactly?
I thought one of the largest schools in the United States, but I thought one of the largest schools in the United States would have more people from diverse backgrounds. I thought it would have a more diverse set of perspectives and a much easier way to get into the stuff that I wanted to get into. Like I said, these cultural things, and they're there,
Yeah, all right.
but
Okay,
you have to drive it on your own.
Okay, it's general advice, okay? It's not a good idea to diss your alma mater.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I realized that as soon as I started saying that as my answer.
The person interviewing you represents a future alma mater. So, so they're going, oh yeah, I'm going to take this guy. And when he comes out of Harvard Business School, he'll be one of these people who says how crappy it is. Oh yeah, you're selling me, buddy.
True.
So what are the odds here? What are the odds of Christian getting into Harvard's 2+2 program, which does tend to favor the opposite of who he is, STEM grads?
Yeah, good point. 2+2 is looking for STEM people, even though if you look on the HBS website, there is a breakout there's a class profile on the HBS website, although you have to search really hard. And half the people are STEM and half the people are non-STEM. I think you're going to have a hard time, even with the Hispanic pool.
How come?
3+3, what we need is what was the GMAT, GPA, GRE again, Christian?
I'm aiming for 330. I did well on the ACT, and I'm aiming for a 330.
All right, let's give you that. 330, is that like
it's equivalent to a 730? It's a 730 on the.
Okay,
equivalent.
Let's give you the 730. 3.3, 730, Hispanic, 2+2. I think your chances of getting, what's that?
And McKinsey.
And McKinsey, yeah. I think your chances of getting interviewed are like 30%. 2+2 is really lottery-like. I keep saying that, and you're a perfect example of there's no reason not for them to take you, except they got a lot of people, and they've got 7 people like you, and they've got to admit 2, okay? And who those 2 are is something of a lottery-like decision.
I have to say that you are one of the most unusual candidates we've ever had. Because, Sandy's most famous saying is, admission officials will blink once, but never twice. And you are on some level asking them to blink twice with a 3.3 and not coming from an elite undergraduate institution. On the other hand, you have in your corner the fact that there are very few people like you in the pool. You are passionate, you are articulate about what you do, you know exactly what you want to do. You have the McKinsey full-time offer after having worked for them as an intern. And if you can at least hit the average or the median on the test, and you have an A in stats and you did quant modeling work for McKinsey, that should satisfy their concerns over the 3.3. So it's really a crapshoot.
Yeah, John, you made a very good case for Christian, and it's true. It's all true.
Now, here's the other question I think is important to this issue. If he doesn't get into his first choice school, Harvard, should he just wait, put in your 2 to 3 years at McKinsey and then reapply? Yeah, or should he go to another school that might, give him a deferral? Maybe it's Columbia. Or should he even apply to a wider range of schools under deferred programs like UVA Darden? And don't don't take this poorly, but Indiana, which has a first-class, world-class business school and music school, could actually be a fantastic place for you. Okay.
Well, so one of the things that led me to starting this process was my entire academic career, I thought I was going to be a master's in music student, and Indiana was one of my schools. And
Yeah.
I've talked about wanting to be, part of business. And I know their MBA program, although I do think that if I don't get in, I am leaning towards, I'd like to reapply, after 2 or 3 years at McKinsey. Who could say what the chances are, assuming
I would agree. Sandy, don't you agree that if it doesn't work out this time, if he applies with 2 to 3 years of full-time McKinsey work experience on his resume, wow, the door creaks open a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. 2 + 2 is really hard.
Yeah, sure.
And Christian, good luck to you. Meantime, keep playing.
Thank you.
All right, this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thank you for joining us for Fridays with Sandy, with Christian.
Adios, and the band played on.
All right. Thanks for watching.